Hi, good evening, everyone. We're back doing the last part of SANS definitions, and we're gonna have a look at the remaining definitions. So this video might be a bit long because there's about 35 left, I think, because we're now currently at 3.50. So there might be quite a few. We're going to try to run through this video as quick as possible. So in our last video we stopped off at multi-pole circuit breakers. So the definition for new, according to SANS, the definition for new is innovative, a descriptive of a technique or item or equipment used for an electrical installation where such technique or item or equipment does not fall within the scope of the standard. So that's we'll see that one, what they mean by that. So new is innovative. Overcurrent protection of a circuit, in brackets, means of interrupting the circuit or interrupting the current in a circuit when that current exceeds its rated value. So it interrupts the current of a circuit when that current exceeds its rated value. Place of assembly. So that's a theater, cinema, church, or any other place where people gather. Place where people gather and where natural lighting is inadequate to allow for safe evacuation. A plug is a device that has two or more metallic contacts in a form of pins. So it's two or more. Is arranged for attachment to a flexible cord or cable. Is intended for engagement with a socket outlet. Point of consumption. A point of outlet or supply terminal of machinery that is connected to the point of outlet and that converts electrical energy to another form of energy. So it's a point of outlet or a supply terminal to machinery that is not connected to a point of outlet that converts electrical energy to another form of energy, provided that in case such machinery that has been installed for any specific purpose as a complete unit or point of consumption is the supply terminals that have been provided on the equipment for the purpose. So a point of consumption is a point of outlet or a supply terminal for machinery that converts electric energy to another form. Point of control. Point at which a customer can, on or in any premises, switch off the electrical installation from the electricity supplied from the point of supply. So it is a point which a consumer in any premises can switch off the electrical installation from electricity supplied from the point of supply. Point of outlet. So it's a termination of an electrical installation which has been provided for the connection of any electrical machine without the use of tool, provided that no connection to a busbar is deemed to be a point of outlet. Point of supply. Point at which supplier supplies electricity to any premises. So it's a supplier that supplies electricity to any premises. A pole. Portion of a switching device associated exclusively with one electrical separated conducting path of its main circuit and excludes those portions that provide a means of mounting or operational on all poles together. So it's a portion of a switching device exclusively with one electrical separated conducting path. Portable water pump. Pump that can easily be moved from one place to another while connected to the supply. So it remains connected to the supply premises. Place such as a site, building or structure, whether stationary or mobile, that can be electrically wired. So there's a place that can be electrically wired. Protected socket outlet. Socket outlet combined with or adjacent to any protected to and protected by a device that has either an overload or overcurrent protection. So first of all, it's a socket outlet protected by a device that has either overload protection or overcurrent protection. Protective device. A unit that comprises of one or more fuses or circuit breakers. Protective screening. Separation from live parts by means of interposed conductive screens connected to an earth by means of an external protective conductor. So it's separated from live parts by means of an interposed conductive screen connected to earth. Protective separation. Separation between circuits by means of basic and supplementary protection. Basic insulation plus supplementary insulation or protective screening, or by provision of equivalent protection. So an example is reinforced insulation. So it's separation between circuits by means of basic supplementary protection. Residential installation. an electrical installation in a private dwelling or in an individual dwelling unit, so that's like a block of flats, including installation in flats, hotels, boarding houses, or other residential installations. Residential where people stay. Safety supply or safety supply of electricity that is obtained from an unearthed secondary circuit of an isolating transformer with limited output voltage specified by the manufacturer. So it's an isolating transformer with limited output voltage that falls under safety supply. Any other isolating device that provides equivalent safety and the same degree of separation between primary and secondary circuits. So it's an isolating device that provides equivalent safety and at the same degree of separation between primary and secondary circuits, or an isolating generator or battery that provides a non-earth supply. So we're going to look at saunas, an enclosure in which heat is generated for therapeutical or recreational purposes and that is designed to accommodate one or more persons. So it's an enclosure that generates heat and accommodates more than one or more persons. Series connecting system. So it's a cascade system. I've seen this question as well in one of the questionnaires. A protection system that allows for an installation of circuit breakers that cannot necessarily be rated to handle the full prospective short circuit current at their point of installation, provided that they are backed up by another fully rated circuit breaker in a predetermined and tested coordination. So it's a protection system that allows for the installation of circuit breakers that cannot necessarily be rated to handle the full prospective short circuit current at their point of installation. So they cannot provide protective short circuit current at the point of installation. So they're provided that they are backed up. So they have to be backed up by another fully rated circuit breaker in a predetermined or tested coordination. Shaver supply unit. Accessories that embodies an insulating transformer with limited output and one or more socket outlets that allow the use of only one plug at a time. So it's a isolating transformer with limited output. Short circuit protective device, SCPD, a device intended to protect a circuit or parts of a circuit against short circuit currents by interrupting the current. So it's a device to protect circuits against short circuit currents by interrupting the current. socket outlet. Remember previously we did the protected socket outlet, so we're going to look at socket outlets, the normal one. Has 2 or more metallic spring contacts designed to accept the corresponding pins of a plug. Is designed for fixing onto or into a building element or on a flat surface. Is arranged for connection of a wiring installation. So we're looking at spa now. It's a container in which water may be heated electrically or agitated electromechanically, or both. So in which water may be heated electrically. Spa is a container. So looking at definition A, moving over to B on the next page, that is designed to accommodate at least one person, electrical equipment of which is permanently connected to electrical supply. So that is permanently connected to a electrical supply. Right, so we're going to look into specialized electrical installation. Electrical installation such as a hazardous location, explosive atmosphere, petroleum industry, medical location. In the newer version, the 2021 version, I haven't seen this one in there yet. I think that one might have been removed. Standard, acceptable, compulsory, standard. Or an acceptable standard published by Standards South Africa or by another standard body whose standards have been referred to this part of SANS. A stove coupler, stove connection that complies with the requirements of SANS. So it is a connection that complies with the requirements. Supplier, in relation to a particular installation, any local authority. So a local authority is a supplier, statutory body or person who supplies, contracts or agrees to supply electricity to that electrical installation. So it's a person who supplies electricity to that electrical installation. So it's a person who supplies electricity to electrical installation. Supply earth terminal. Again, it's a clamp or a terminal at a point of supply to which the supplier protective conductor is connected. Protective conductor is connected. We did cover this one in the previous video. Just check that one out. Okay, switch, mechanical device that is capable of making and carrying and breaking currents under normal circuit conditions. Multi-pole switch, switch in which all poles are mechanically coupled together and that is suitable for making carrying and breaking currents in all the phase conductors, or if so required, all live conductors of a circuit. Switch disconnector is switch that in the open position satisfy the isolating requirements specified for a disconnector. So in an open position, it satisfies the isolating requirements specified for that conductor, for a conductor. Terminal. Device in or which conductors can be terminated. Conductors terminated, and that provides sustainable electrical connection and support to terminals or terminations sturdily and safely with a suitable cover if necessary to render it safe. So conductors can be terminated and provide sustainable electrical connection and supports termination sturdily and safely. Test report. Report C 8.1 or 8.7 that is used by a registered person in respect of an electrical installation. So it's issued by a registered person for an electrical installation or a part of a electrical installation. Touch voltage, that is the symbol UL, touch voltage. Voltage which during an insulation fault appears between simultaneously accessible parts. So it's voltage during an insulated fault appears between simultaneously accessible parts. Transformers. Class 1 transformer. Transformer in which protection against electric shock does not rely on basic insulation only, but which includes an additional safety precaution in such a way that means such as earthing terminals are provided. So it's a transformer with more than basic insulation, has got an earthing terminal that are provided for the, let's just swap over to the next page. So we read that are provided for the connection of accessible conductive parts to the protective earthing conductor. So class 1 transformer is not only basically insulated but has a protective earthing conductor. In a fixed wiring installation. So note a class 1 transformer may have parts with double or reinforced insulation. Class 2 transformer. Transformer in which protection against electric shock does not only rely on basic insulation again, but with additional safety precautions such as double insulation or reinforced insulation is provided for being on a provision for protective earthing or reliance upon installation conditions. We normally use a class 1 transformer. We're almost done with this definitions. Isolating transformer. Transformer with protective separation between the input and output windings. So it's got protective separation between the input and the output windings, which are electrically separated in order to limit the hazards due to accidental simultaneous contact with earth or live parts. Safety isolating transformer. A isolating transformer designed to supply safety extra low voltage or protected extra low voltage. I have also seen these questions, the ones that we're going to cover next in the exams. So when you look at voltage, difference of electrical potential between any two live conductors. If there is only one conductor between that conductor or any one live conductor and a earth. So it's between two conductors and a earth or two live conductors. Sorry about that, guys. I just had a cup of coffee that was getting a bit cold that I need to finish. So voltages, there is a few voltages that is covered in this one. So the first one is extra low voltage. The abbreviation is ELV. Voltage that does not exceed 150 VAC or 120 volts DC. So abbreviation for VAC is volts alternating current, volts direct current. Safety extra low voltage. So it's safety extra low voltage. Voltage that does not exceed 150 volts AC or 120 volts DC between conductors or between any conductor and earth in a circuit which is isolated from the supply mains by means of such a safety isolating transformer. So the notes are there if you want to pause the video and read through them. We're not going to go through them now. So low voltage LV does not exceed 1000 volts or 1500 volts DC. A wireway, open or enclosed route or support such as a rack, tray, ladder, ducting, trunking, sleeving or conduit that is intended to contain conductors or cables. So there's a open or a closed support route or route intended to contain conductors or cables. So conduit, we already gone through that one. That will be the first video on definitions. If you want to go back to that video, it should be part 2, Wireman's license part 2 definitions. You'll get that one. Ducting as well, an enclosed enclosure that allows insulated conductors and cables in electrical installation to be drawn in and to be replaced. So it's a closed enclosure that allows conductors, cables in electrical installation to be drawn in and to be replaced. Flexible conduit, we did that one, just check the previous videos. Trunking, closed enclosure that comprises of a base with a removable cover that is intended to completely surround the insulated conductors and cables in electrical installation and accommodate other electrical equipment, for example, in the case of power skirting. So it's a closed box with a cover in front that you can remove. Surge protection device, SPD, devices that contain at least one non-linear component that is intended to limit the surge voltage or divert surge current. So it's a device intended to limit surge voltage and divert surge currents. Right. We'll have a look at some of my previous tests. On definitions, this is what the test looks like. So question 3, in terms of SANS 10202 of 2001, earthing of a low voltage distribution system, definitions and abbreviations. So define each of the following terms. So this question came from the installation rules first paper. The best thing is to remember, guys, when you're doing your test, that I also need to remember is answer must comply with the relevant codes and or requirements of SANS publications, latest editions, or the Occupational Health and Safety Act regulations, and must show the candidate understands the context of the relevant questions. So you don't need to answer the questions word for word from the publication. What you do need to show to the examiner is that you understand what the question is, and you understand the regulations. So alive, remember we looked at the one where it says a potential current to earth. Combined neutral and earth cable, that one is not, we did not cover that one in the SANS, but we'll have a look at that one as well in another video. So this is some of the questions. The PE conductor and the PEN conductor is not in this manual. We'll have a look again on that one on another video. Definitions again in SANS. Cable, circuit breaker, earth resistance, low voltage, overcurrent. So questions, they just want to know if you do understand what these terms are. So if you're an electrician a millwright like myself or any other person that works with electricity should be familiar with majority of the terms. If not, you need to have a look at that as well. Yes, so that is that definitions. I will make an additional video on the other part of SANS where the questions are not the same, but the definitions are more definitions added. And yes, we'll have a look at that. So on my next video, we'll run through compliance. This one is extremely important. The reason I'm saying that is in the questions, compliance is majority only for your notice boards, labels and rating plates. So we'll have a look, run through this one. It's quite short. You can see there's a table. Here's a table here. It's quite short, but it is extremely important to run through that. Right guys, if you got any questions, if you got any suggestions, please write in the comments. Please like and subscribe to the videos. Again, this is a 2019 version. The 2021 version does not have some of these things, some of the definitions, but it has some other definitions that this book doesn't have. So we'll look at that in a separate video. Keep your videos posted and look at that video. Keep a watch out for that video that I'll post. I'll run through that. But yeah, the next video will be on compliance. And yes, I'd love to hear your feedback if there's any suggestions from your side. Thanks guys, have a good evening further.